Agent Hunt is transferring classified files from the CIA mainframe into his flash drive. This is the formula for the size of the files on Agent Hunt's drive S, measured in megabytes as a function of time, t, measured in seconds. Complete the following sentences with the appropriate missing values. When the transfer began, the drive had blank megabytes of files on it. So when the transfer began, that would be t equals 0. T equals 0 was right when the transfer began. So t equals 0, s of 0 is going to be 5 times 0, 5 times 0 plus 45, which of course is just going to be equal to 45. And s is measured, they tell us, measured in megabytes. So there were 45 megabytes of files on his drive before or right when the transfer began. Then they say every 10 seconds, an additional blank megabytes are transferred into the drive. So every 10 seconds, how many? Well, one way to think about it, there's a bunch of ways you could think about this. One is, well, we know that there were 45 megabytes at time equals 0. Well, let's think about what happens 10 seconds later. How many megabytes are in his drive? So we could say s of 10 is going to be 5 times 10 plus 45, which is equal to 50 plus 45. So at time equals 0, there were 45 megabytes. And 10 seconds later, there's now 50 plus 45 megabytes. So in 10 seconds, an extra 50 megabytes are transferred into the drive. And that's expected, because as t increases 1, this function goes up by 5. So if t increases by 10, this is going to increase by 50. So for every 10 seconds, you would have 50 megabytes are transferred in the drive. And you could test that more if you want. You could say, okay, let's go another 10 seconds. S of 20 seconds, that's going to be 5 times 20 plus 45, which is equal to 100 plus 45. So notice, when 10 seconds have passed in time, when we've increased time by 10 seconds, we've increased memory. Our memory that we're using, the megabytes we're using, has increased by 50.